Hello, and welcome to Getting It Done, a podcast about music, education, and life lessons. I'm your host, Tim Rausenberger, and today is Thursday, April 18th, 2019. This is episode 268, Concert Preparation for Students and Families. Please make sure to share this episode, like, subscribe down below, and check out any of the 250 episodes available on iTunes and Soundcloud, where you will find comparable content to what you're going to be hearing in today's episode. Let's get to it. Isn't it interesting that teachers create lesson plans? More specifically, music teachers create lesson plans where they have to consider event planning. So it goes beyond what's happening in the classroom. I find it rather ironic, though, that the people who need to know the most about concert preparation are not the music teachers. It's everyone else. It has to do with people in your school, whether it has to do with custodial staff, administration, and more importantly, the people in the community, the students and their families. So how do we convey that information to them? That's what we're going to discuss today. Not just how we're going to convey it, but what needs to be conveyed. First of all, before we get to this list of 8 items, many school districts will send out a letter to families, which is fine because that means all the information is there. Everything that you are going to need could be put on a document. But let's be honest with each other here. We know that all too often, that information that goes home either never makes it home, or if it does make it home, it could get lost. It may be seen, but it gets pushed off to the side. Or, unfortunately, some people don't read everything in its entirety. And then what winds up happening? We get emails as teachers. The school district receives phone calls, and it just becomes very time-consuming. One of the things I started doing many years ago was starting the preparation process with my students, but doing it well in advance. You would be amazed if you spend time in the classroom talking with your students about these items, to the point of almost taking an entire rehearsal. Because to be perfectly honest, if you spend the time talking about these items, it's going to put them in the type of mindset that we've got a concert coming up. We've got to get ready. I need to think about what I'm going to be wearing. I need to think about tickets. I have a lot of things I have to think about. I didn't think about these things. Oh, wow, and that's right. I have to have my instrument ready to go and be ready to go with all the songs that I have to sing. So it's going to get everyone in the right mindset. I like to say to my students that I like to be in full-blown concert mode 3 weeks before the concert. And by 2 weeks before the concert, we're ready to go. And this is a big part of it. Number 1, leaving early because of potential traffic and parking. I cannot begin to tell you how many times over the years I've had people who have been late to events because of the traffic that they encountered or the inability to get parked. Last year, I had a concert I was involved in, and even though I work right here in the district, and I had not gone very far, I decided to grab a bite to eat right after school, and I decided that I was going to park in a very specific area near the school, so I would be able to basically leave a little bit quicker with where my car was going to be strategically parked. Well, all of that went into the toilet because unfortunately, that evening there was a massive championship game for a big sports team in the area, and no one knew. Unfortunately, I went having to park 7 blocks away from the concert site, and I was still plenty early, but I was a little more stressed than I should have been. And I am quite sure that in our busy society, in a world where people just simply put too many things into their schedule, they don't think about these things. And they get stressed, then the students get stressed, and then the parents get stressed because the students are stressed, and it's an ongoing cycle, and it's not healthy. I would take the championship game analogy and put it into action here. Say to your students to let your parents know that we need to think about this as being a championship game. If you have a 7 o'clock concert and the report time is 6:30, 7 o'clock game, and you're supposed to be there at 6:30, I would think at the absolute latest. I would think if you came any later, that coach may be benching you for the championship game, or may send you home altogether. For a concert, every single person is absolutely essential. Every single person. No one sits out with music. Everyone is involved on the stage. So we've got to make sure that the students get there. And we can't yell at the students. They don't have any control about getting there on time unless it's a rare situation in which they're actually walking to the site itself. Number 2 and 3 go somewhat hand in hand with number 1. Advising family members in advance. So not just the people within your own household, but also relatives, friends, other people who are interested in the performance, letting them know. And they also need to know, are there any tickets involved? Do you need to make any types of reservations for seats? Is there a cost for the tickets? If they're purchased in advance, what's the cost going to be? Is there any advantage to purchasing tickets in advance? General admission or specific seating? A lot of things to think about, not things you want to be doing the day before the concert or the day of the concert. Number 4, what am I wearing? How many people don't think about that? How many people don't even think about what they're wearing for any given day that they're going to school as a student, or any given day you wake up and you're going to work? I learned a long, long time ago that I take my clothes, I get them ready the night before, and I have them hanging on my door so I can be ready to go immediately in the morning. Heaven forbid I'm running late. Knowing what you're going to be wearing for the concert is critical. I had a recent situation in which 2 students were trying out for a sports team. They were told by that coach, this was just for an audition, they were told by that coach that they had to have a very specific type of apparel on. Both students didn't have it. One student, 2 weeks prior to the tryout, was able to bargain shop with their parents and paid under $20 for everything that was needed. The other student waited until the day before the audition. And I think you know where this is going. They wound up paying over $100 more than the other student because they simply couldn't find those bargain prices. And they didn't want to disappoint the coach. You need to think about what you're going to be wearing. Students are going to need to know what that concert attire is going to be. For number 5, they need to know in advance. It is unfair to be letting students and their families know a week before the concert what they need to wear. That is absolutely an unfair thing to do. It's going to make the families upset. But if you go through it with the students, explain it to them, take the time out of the rehearsal. It's worth an entire rehearsal to do this because everyone's going to have the mindset, I have a concert, I have a concert, I need to get ready. And when they have that mindset, then they can keep on saying to the parents over and over, we need to get this, we need to get this. Kids, more often than not, will come through in this department. And you can't have that reminder only one time. It needs to be numerous times in rehearsals. And you need to stress to the students, I do not want to receive phone calls from your parents about these specific issues unless it's something that they really need to know. I think a better way of even saying is, I don't want to get you the phone calls from your parents the day of or the day before the concert, because that means that they either didn't get the information or they're very stressed out and they don't have much time. So we need to consider all these things. And no, I do not think that 9 and 10-year-olds are too young for this. I've taught elementary for a lot of my career, and I can tell you that they usually come through better in some cases than the older kids. 4th and 5th graders are more than capable of accomplishing these tasks. Number 6, lunch and dinner arrangements. How many times have you left for a concert and you never had a chance to eat? It's one of the worst things we can do. It's one thing because of nerves. It's quite another thing when you get nothing into your belly and you show up and you don't feel great, could potentially faint, or you're dehydrated because you didn't consume enough water throughout the day or the day prior. So just knowing what the arrangements are going to be, you don't have to have this specific dinner planned, but you should know when it's going to occur. Is this going to be the night that we go out to eat somewhere, or we take something to go, rather than doing the typical meal at home around the kitchen table? Number 7, the date and reporting time. How many times do we get those questions? When's the concert? When's the concert? What time do I have to be there? Oh, it gets to be crazy. And you know what? It's going to continue to happen, but we need to do everything we can to try to prevent it from happening. And number 8, homework and chores. Oh, this is so very, very important. Unfortunately, all too often, the students that are in the subject areas outside of music in any given school may or may not be aware of the concert. And sadly, some teachers, it doesn't matter to them if there's a concert. The math homework might still be there. The English language arts homework may still be there. The science project is still going to be due the next day. So if you're in that situation, you as a student might want to speak to your teacher, again, in advance. Parents, you could certainly communicate through your children or directly to the teacher. Is it possible my child can have an extension? The worst thing that can happen is they could say no. But we do need to plan to take care of these things because unfortunately, even with a concert, life still happens. I hope you'll take the time to review all 8 of these items with your students. And parents, take these into consideration. Share this episode. It's something that all of us need to hear. I'll see you later on tonight for our episode about making friends for episode 269 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time live. I'll see you on the other side. Peace.